Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next installment of My Energy Future, where we get to meet our next STEM hero, Elsa Valay-Paz. And she is from SDG&E down here in San Diego. So thank you so much for joining us, Elsa.
Thank you, Megan. Happy to be here. So I'm going to read my title. It's a mouthful, Director of Origination and Energy Supply and Dispatch. And I typically get a lot of questions like, what does that really mean? And what are you actually doing? So in a nutshell, I'm responsible for managing SDG&E's portfolio of generation resources. A way that we can all relate to it is I'm responsible for making sure that the lights are on. I'm very fortunate to have this role at SDG&E, and I'm very passionate about what we do because I get to deliver the energy that our customers need to power their lives on a daily basis. Obviously, SDG&E proud, hashtag SDG&E proud, because it's not just about delivering energy, but we also care about the type of energy that we deliver to others. So about 45% of our energy comes from clean resources, and that's very important to us. And then also, additionally to what I do on a day-to-day basis, I also focus a lot on working with my peers and working with others. I want to make sure that at SDG&E we develop our talent and that we mentor and empower others.
Can you tell us a little bit about kind of your story of how you got to be where you are today?
Yes. Yeah, so that's a picture of me back in the day. This really takes me back, Megan, and it's a great question because I think everything starts at the beginning. I was born in Mexico in a city called Monterrey. People from that city are called regios. Regia, it's a word in Spanish that means Rigo. So for not that I'm part of royalty, but that's what it means, and people from that region are called that. But I was raised in Tijuana, a cross-border town. Tijuana is viewed as a city to San Diego. So I really grew up loving San Diego. And from a personal standpoint, home sweet home, when I think about where I come from, I, obviously have to think about my household and my parents. I was fortunate to live with my parents, but literally when I was thinking about, my role models and who really made a difference in my life, I think everything started at home with my parents. My mother, she was a school teacher, but she worked at home with us, and she was a great support for my dad. And my dad, to this day, he lives a life of service as a Christian minister. So one thing that was very important to me, like in the early days, and it's still important to me right now, is not just about who I wanted to be as I grew up, but also what kind of person I wanted to be, not only in the company where I was supposed to be at, but also with my peers and my friends. And I really wanted to live a life of purpose. In my household, they they taught me to always do my best, no matter what it was. But I also always felt empowered to do what I wanted to do. So I learned to bake with my mom. And that picture of that cupcake, it's a cupcake that I did, not recently, but I did. I kind of like got into this like real hobby of creating everything from scratch. And it kind of like developed an artistic side of me because I'm in the STEM field, so very numbers driven. So when I think about baking, it really takes me back to that moment when I was working with my mom. In addition to that, from my dad, I really got this love for poetry. So sometimes when you're very like numbers driven and very math oriented, people think that you're not very emotional, but I actually here to tell you that I am. And reading a poem is so relaxing and so a good opportunity to connect with kind of like different themes and topics. Additionally, I love to travel. That's something that I like to do with my husband and my two kids. I have a daughter and a boy, and it's a really good opportunity to get to know like different cities, their culture, what they do, what they eat. And then my love for math, and I know that some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, how can you love math, right? But I think math, it's really embedded in everything that I do. Math, it's an exact science. So there's no gray area. And it's kind of like, this is a solution, but it also allows you to really develop this skill to understand problems and fix them. And that's something that I really enjoyed when I think about my, high school years and about algebra and all those other things that you learn in math. Additionally to math, I did like to develop other sides of my brain. So I did participate also in public speaking events, and I won a couple of competitions in high school. So I really loved that, and an opportunity to connect with an audience and move them and be compelling and passionate and whatnot, delivering a message. And then the last thing that I wanted to share with you all in terms of the hobbies and what I love doing growing up, and that I do continue to love doing until this day, is helping others. And I have very distinct memories of having friends and schoolmates and colleagues that would reach out to me and say like, hey, Elsa, I have this problem at work, or I have this problem in school, and people looking for whatever reason, I want to say probably up to me to say like, hey, what would you do here? And I need your help. And that was something that I always loved to do and spend time with people on that.
Your love for math, did that kind of lead you into your career choices and your education background?
I think it did for a while there, because I really like public speaking events and all that. I thought for a second that maybe I wanted to do something different with my career. But then when I took a step back and really assessed my options, I really thought that I had a passion for numbers, and finance to me was a really good fit because it really allowed me to understand numbers, but also connect with people, whether with management, telling them the story about our business unit. So I started in accounting and a transition to finance. That's a picture of me at Pepperdine in the Gracidio Business School in Malibu. So obviously a very, very nice view. But yes, early on, I was invited to work in a big four accounting firm. I was still in college, and that, I'll tell you, that really shaped who I am in my career, just because I was assigned very cool projects. I had a lot of responsibility very early on, and I kind of like understood what it meant to be in a field where you're connected with numbers and how to be a catalyst for positive change and drive change.
So as you think about all of your success, what did you have to learn in order to get to where you are today?
So Megan, thank you for your question. And before I start, I wanted to share that's a picture of me with my daughter. She's starting high school next year, and we're so happy because we climbed a mountaintop that's close to where I live. And I thought it was a very good representation to talk about, some of the lessons that I've learned along my journey. So first of all, to follow my dreams, and the sky's the limit. And it really is. Sometimes when you look at your career path and you're trying to figure out what you want to do when you grow up, sometimes I still ask myself that question. You feel that it's so challenging, and what's the dream and how to follow it and how to chase it. And those are some of the conversations that I have with my daughter as she starts high school next year. And that's why I kind of like also wanted to share that picture of her there. The other thing to be patient. And the previous slide I shared that I started working at what I want to say a young age with responsibilities in a big four firm. And sometimes it's hard because you think that, very quickly you're going to be able to go up and your career takes different turns. But ultimately, I'm here to say that the best is yet to come. And the other thing too that I want to share, and this is so important for young females and girls, as you start thinking about who do you want to be when you grow up, find that inner voice. It's so important. And even though I practice public speaking, I consider myself an introvert. And I really had to work hard on this, but you really have to share what you're thinking and what your dreams are so other people can relate to them and understand them. And the other thing too, my financial background has opened many, many doors for me, and has been key to my success. I recall having friends saying like, oh, you're going to be in accounting, you're going to be in numbers. That sounds really boring. And I always thought about myself like a very different kind of accountant or finance professional. And I thought that I was going to be able to use my ability with numbers to drive change and lead an organization. And ultimately, when I think about what I'm doing right now, math is really the key to understanding the business model.
What do you have to give to students regarding advice or help along their journey?
I think that, Sometimes we're so focused about our journey, our story, who do we want to be? But it has to be bigger than that. And early on, I said that I wanted to live a life of purpose. And I'm here to tell you that it's so worth it to live a value driven life. Be grateful for what you have. Sometimes we're always very focused on all the things that we don't have, but ultimately it starts with being grateful with what you have. Do your best. I said that that was an advice that I would get at home, and literally is something that drives my everyday. Like almost like at the end of the day, I run and checks and balances to see where I'm at. And sometimes I'm really happy with what I did, and sometimes I go like I could have done better. So I still kind of like try to push myself to do the best and help others. It's not about just you, it's about others. And the older you get, I think this becomes a more important part of who you are. And personally, that's something that I've been very focused on recently. How can I help people within my company, but then also people within the community? And how can I drive change and be, you know, an influence for positive change and be a catalyst for that? And then the last thing is growing up, sometimes you think that, you have a problem, it's the end of the world, you don't know what to do. You're not alone. Find a mentor that is trustworthy. And I want to underscore bold trustworthy. And, look for that person. You'll find it. You're going to have a connection and you're going to be able to share what's troubling you and look for advice. And then learn to speak up when you need help, whether at home, whether with a mentor, whether with a teacher or someone else. I think that's so important.
Thank you so much for choosing to share your journey with all of us and the students out there. We do have a couple questions for you. The first question we have is, what is your favorite part of your job that you do now?
Wow. I'm trying to think. Pre-COVID, post-COVID, things have changed a little bit, but my favorite part of my job now is where I connect with others and help them fix problems. And a lot of the things that I do, they're very detailed, they're very technical, into the weeds. It does require a lot of analysis, and being able to help others to find the solution. I think that that brings a lot of satisfaction to me on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, wonderful. And kind of connecting that into your leadership for young girls and for women, I know that SDG&E has the hashtag Be That Girl. Can you kind of dive into a little bit of that?
Yeah, absolutely, Megan. Hashtag Be That Girl. It's a program led by our new appointed CEO, Caroline Wynn. And I'm just so proud of being a part of an organization that really encourages others to be that catalyst for positive change with girls. And Be That Girl is a platform that offers that opportunity to leaders at SDG&E. And I think um, I was attracted to it the first time that I heard about it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity to share what I've done and hear about what's going on with others and hear about their pains and their success stories, and then be able to connect with them and share with them that there's a future in STEM. Females are severely underrepresented in STEM, and sometimes we think as girls, and I remember being that girl, growing up, that I wanted to be successful and I had the dream and whatnot. And sometimes you go, maybe it's not me. Maybe it's not meant for me to be in that role, because maybe it should be someone else. Maybe it should be, like a guy or a boy or whatever. And I'm here to tell you that you have everything to be successful and to carve out your own dreams and your own path and drive change and inspire others. It's just a matter of you taking that first step, saying, this is who I want to be. And that's where everything gets started. And I think Be That Girl is a very organic way to do that. I'm very passionate about the opportunity to be part of that program and connect with others. And I really love this opportunity to connect with you all through this platform, because it's, who would have thought that, years ago we would have had an opportunity to do a video like this and connect with others. We were limited by just those physical interactions. So it's super cool. I'm very passionate about that. And I'm glad that we have that from the top. It starts at the top.
Yeah, it's like a great way to put the fusion of outreach and science all together into one. I think that's all of our questions that we have. Thank you so, so much for sharing your very inspiring story to all of us and all of the students.
Thank you, Megan, for this opportunity. I hope like in the near future, I can, hear from the student success stories, and ultimately, I want to be viewed as a resource to help others. So anytime.